Daydreaming about dragons again. Here we are. This is Judd. Thinking about gaming. I had a really, really good gaming weekend. I gamed for 11 hours straight, which was nuts and hasn't happened in my adult life in a very long time. And I really liked it. This is a fun hobby. It reinforced that for me. Both games were really fun. One was face-to-face. I talked about them in the post-game and pre-game show. I'm still excited about them. So let's talk about a moment that came out of one of those games, okay? Let's talk about that uncomfortable role-playing game moment. We all, if we've been in this game for a while, we've seen it. Players capture some sentient creature and they want information. And the sentient creature doesn't want to give it to them. And the players get frustrated. Maybe the system has a way to deal with this. You know, maybe there's a role you can make, but very often there is not. And if there is not, the players get even more frustrated. And things get nasty in a hurry. I have seen parties of halflings cut off their enemies' fingers one by one because they wanted that info, man. And sometimes sometimes this in the fictional sense, it's life or death to get that stuff. But very often, when you look at it for real, it's players being frustrated, right? And it's players saying, "I'm just gonna, I cut off a finger. Oh yeah, I don't cut off a finger. Guess what I cut off?" And it just becomes torture porn, and it's really frustrating. And then what do you do? Do you have the conversation? It's frustrating to have the conversation with your players. Be like, the CIA says that torture actually doesn't lead to actionable information and intel. It's just why do I have to say that? Why do I have to say that to a group of halflings fresh out of the Shire, right? That is frustrating. And while many things that don't happen in fantasy fiction I find refreshing at the table, this doesn't happen to be one of them. And it happened to me at a game of Blades in the Dark, in which the players are investigators. And they were in an investigation, and they brought in a powerful figure who runs the warden of the Iron Hook prison. And she had done a murder, had ordered a murder. And they knew she did it, and she knew they knew. And the murder didn't even have to do with the case, really. It was tangential. They didn't want to put her up on murder charges. That wasn't what they were doing. So, what then? And luckily, I think Blades in the Dark has a system to deal with that. And what I did here's how I set it up. I set up 2 clocks, right? And when the players, here's how clocks work. When a player succeeds at a intimidation roll or a cajole roll or some kind of social roll, you click off the clocks based on how much they succeed. They do very well, maybe they get 2. Critically well, maybe they click 3 parts of the clock. Not so well, maybe 1, maybe not at all. And then you have another clock. So 1 clock is the murderer breaks and tells them everything that she knows. The other clock is the murderer's lawyers come and bail her out. And you have to find out which one's going to work. Now, the cool thing about Blades in the Dark is I'm set up to do that. Blades in the Dark is set up to use those tools. So you're not just rolling and then seeing which one comes up first. That's not much fun. There's a thing in Blades in the Dark called fictional positioning. So based on what stance they take, I tell them how difficult it's going to be because I know what the NPC is thinking. They can still roll great, but it's very difficult. If I think there's just no chance, I can make it very difficult for them to get anything out of it. And it was really satisfying. Really satisfying. But what am I suggesting? Well, I'm suggesting if you have a system that gives you tools to deal with an interrogation, then use it. Please use it. If you don't, then call time out and say, listen, the goblin's not going to tell you where his family is. So you've got a choice. You can let him go or you can kill him. Decide what kind of heroes you are. Because he's not going to tell you. He's not going to tell you. But maybe they find a way. Maybe there's something creative they do. Maybe they say, listen, here's 10 gold. Go retire. Go. Go nuts. Maybe there is something you can give them. They can give the poor little goblin to get the goblin to snitch. But if not, call time out. Don't have it turn into escalating who can narrate the most terrible thing that their character does to the goblin. Please. If that's the game you want to run, if you're all having fun with it, have fun. But if you're not, call time out. Talk to your friends. Talk to them. Tell them, hey, this isn't interesting to me. I don't think this is interesting to you. I don't want to hear you escalate this how I torture the goblin in creative ways. Let's not do it. Do something creative or get out. Do something creative or get out. Now, what's creative? I don't know. Maybe one of the characters speaks Goblin. And he says, listen, the Goblin gods, they revere survival above all. And if you don't tell us, you're not going to survive. And the Goblin gods will be angry that you didn't do what you could do to survive. Ooh, that's interesting. A religious argument. Give me something. Give me something. Be creative. Think outside the box. Think outside the torture box. That's what I'm saying. And that's what's on my mind today. Actual play, interrogations. What happens when you capture that poor little goblin? If you've got an interrogation story for good or for ill, I'd love to hear it. You can email me. My Twitter is always in the show notes. And I look forward to hearing from you. I will talk to you soon. All right, this week we've got a piece of art. It's by John Wigley, and it is an ink and watercolor piece of art. And I'll put a link to it so you can look at it with me. So it's in the show notes. It's on Instagram. And it shows two crows on like a wooden post, maybe, that you'd see like as a property marker. And on the post is a devil head with some runic writing underneath, and also into the post are nails driven in like kind of halfway, right? And I love it. It's very evocative, and it makes me wonder what the heck is going on. And here's what I think is going on. You tell me what you think is going on. That's a fun way to use inspiration for a piece of art. Okay, I think this thing is a new marker as a king or queen makes safe roads, right? They're going to make safe, bespelled, warded roads that will keep the evil things from the forest and the swamp out. But until then, you got to be careful. So underneath the devil head is a warning, right? And it is saying that if you get one of those nails out and drive it into a piece of wood and put that piece of wood in your campfire, it should keep the devils away, right? Your miles may vary, but it should keep the devils away. And I think that's a fun way to kind of keep monsters away, because it has the firelight as like a boundary. And I like the idea, very often when there's magic or wards or whatever, it's ancient, right? It's this unspeakably ancient from ancient times. Who knows who did it? Some mysterious archmage. And I like the idea that it's being done right now. That there's someone out there who needs the roads to be safe, and they turn to their court sorcerer, and they're like, hey, what can we do right this second? What can you and your apprentices go out and enchant right now while we build these roads so that we can get this done? I think it's fun. And it's just an evocative picture. It's great. I love Twitter for looking at Twitter, and Instagram are fantastic for gathering artists. Pinterest is good too. I'll share my Pinterest boards, but it's fun to look at the art right from the artist's source, right from the artist, right from what they're doing right now. That is really cool. And John Wigley's Instagram is neat. And I'll put that up. And I'll also put a link to my artist list in Twitter, which is pretty good. So check that out. And check out Wigley's Instagram account. And that's what I've got. Let me know what art is inspiring you. Hit me up. You know the deal. Pigeon, Raven, tweet, email, e-missive, judd.karlman@gmail.com. Or you can get on the Anchor app and drop me a message, and I will try to get it on a Wednesday reply show. Okay? Great. Thanks for everything, and thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.